You're 200 points short. You've been saving for a year. The reward you want costs 18,000 points. You have 17,800. So you don't redeem. You wait for one more purchase, one more flight, one more coffee run. The reward stays just out of reach, and the points stay in the account. You assume that's bad news for the company. A customer holding unused points is a customer the company still owes something to. You'd be right on paper, and you'd be missing the part that matters. Open American Airlines 2024 annual report, and you'll find a line item called Loyalty Program Liability. Value at year's end, just over $10 billion. Not an asset, a liability. On the same balance sheet where American lists its debt. Every mile sitting in your AAdvantage account isn't recorded as a reward the airline is proud to have given you. It's recorded as a liability, an obligation the airline has not yet fulfilled. So here's the first question this raises. If your points are a debt the company owes you, what happens to that debt if you never collect it? The answer is a term buried in the accounting footnotes of nearly every airline, hotel chain, and coffee company in America. Breakage. Breakage is the share of points a company statistically expects will never be redeemed, expired, forgotten, or just never quite enough to reach the reward. Accounting rules won't let a company count your points as revenue while it still owes you something for them. But once a company's own statistical models estimate that a portion of those points will probably never be claimed, that portion moves out of the liability column and into revenue, governed by specific accounting rules, not by the company's own discretion. If you like discovering the hidden financial stories behind everyday things, there's a lot more coming. Subscribe, and we'll keep digging. Starbucks makes the mechanism easy to see, because coffee is simpler to measure than airplane seats or hotel nights. In 2016, unredeemed card balances and stars produced about $60 million in breakage revenue for the company. By 2018, that had climbed to roughly $156 million. In the most recent year reported, it topped $187 million. That's not a one-time accounting quirk. It's a number that keeps growing year after year as more customers load money onto an app and don't spend all of it. And Starbucks states the mechanism plainly in its own filings. A portion of stored value is expected to go unredeemed, and that portion is recognized as revenue over time, based on historical redemption patterns. Hotels run the same math at a larger scale. Marriott's regulatory filings show its loyalty liability was valued at over $2 billion in a single recent year, and the company disclosed something specific alongside that number. A 10% reduction in its breakage estimate alone would increase that liability by roughly $139 million. Sit with that number for a second. A 10% shift in an assumption changed $139 million on a hotel company's books. Not because anything changed about the hotels, or the rooms, or the points themselves. Because the model's estimate of how many points would ultimately go unused changed. Which would already be a strange enough story. A reward that quietly becomes a company's revenue if you forget about it. But it's not the strangest part of the mechanism. The strangest part is what happens on the other side of the ledger, when customers do the opposite of forgetting. Southwest Airlines discloses in its own annual report exactly how sensitive its revenue is to people remembering to use their points. A hypothetical 1 percentage point change in its estimated breakage rate, 1 point, in either direction, would shift passenger revenue by roughly $235 million. If more members redeem than the model predicted, revenue moves down by that much. If fewer do, it moves up. Read that carefully. A publicly traded company is telling federal regulators, in a legally binding filing, exactly how much revenue is at stake if its customers use their rewards more than the model expected. It's not an isolated example. Loyalty Ventures, the company behind the Air Miles rewards program, states an almost identical risk in its own filings. If actual redemptions come in higher than the company's estimate, profitability could be adversely affected. That's the second contradiction sitting inside this story. The first one was strange enough, a reward filed as a debt. This one is stranger. The economics aren't neutral about the outcome. Companies have calculated in writing exactly how much revenue is at stake if too many customers redeem more than the model expected. Now here's where it gets more interesting, because breakage isn't the only lever a company has. Hilton's filings mention a second one, almost in passing: devaluation. That's the industry's own word for what happens when a company quietly changes how many points a reward costs, raising a hotel night from 40,000 points to 55,000, for instance, without changing the cash price of the room at all. Devaluation doesn't touch the breakage estimate directly. It can make the same pile of points worth less to the customer, even when the customer has done nothing differently. Two separate mechanisms. Two separate ways the economics of a reward can change without anyone ever having to say so out loud. Which raises the real question underneath all of this. If redemption is a filed financial risk, and the reward's value can be adjusted after the fact, what does that make the loyalty program itself? No airline, hotel chain, or coffee company states anywhere in these filings that its goal is to make redemption harder. That's not what any of these documents say, and treating this as a hidden confession would overstate what's actually written down. The timing and amount of breakage depend on the company's estimates, historical redemption patterns, program terms, and the accounting rules that govern all of it, not on a single person's decision. But look at what the incentives reward, regardless of anyone's intent. A customer who redeems creates a fulfillment obligation, a real cost, a room given away, a flight seat used. A customer whose points ultimately qualify as breakage does not. The system doesn't need anyone in a boardroom to want you to forget. It only needs the economics to make unused rewards financially different from redeemed ones. And the risk disclosures make that difference visible, in writing, in filings anyone can read. Put it together, and the loyalty program stops looking like a gift and starts looking like a financial obligation, one whose eventual cost depends partly on how many customers actually redeem what they've earned, and partly on how the company defines what earned is worth by the time you try to collect. But there's a bigger pattern here than accounting. Look at what a loyalty program actually does to you underneath the rewards. Once you've got 40,000 points sitting in one airline's account, switching to a cheaper competitor doesn't just mean a cheaper flight. It means leaving 40,000 points behind, a sunk cost that makes the worse option feel like the safer one. Status tiers work the same way. One more trip protects the elite status you already earned, so you keep booking with the airline that's earned your loyalty back, whether or not it's still the best deal on the route. None of that requires you to think about breakage or devaluation at all. It just requires you to have something to lose. The reward is real, but the reward was never the whole product. The habit it creates is the product, the switching cost, the sunk points, the tier you don't want to fall out of, the spending that stays inside one company's ecosystem instead of going wherever's cheapest. A loyalty program isn't fundamentally a system for giving customers something back. It's a system for shaping what customers do next, and the points are the part of that system you're allowed to see. You thought your points were the company's way of saying thank you. The filings say something closer to thank you and take your time. Every point that ultimately qualifies as breakage can become somebody else's revenue. Every point you redeem on schedule is a risk more than one of these companies has already disclosed to its shareholders. So what do you do with that? Don't hoard points indefinitely. Some of what you leave unused may eventually become breakage. Know the expiration rules before you trust the balance. Watch for devaluation. Nobody announces when your reward quietly costs more. And before you redeem or don't, run the math you'd run with real money. What's the reward actually worth against what you'd pay to keep the points? Don't pay more to protect a status you didn't need. And don't let points you've already earned decide what you buy tomorrow. The company already decided what your points are worth to them. Decide what they're worth to you. There's more beneath every business than you see. This is the business beneath. Subscribe to uncover what's next.